is Kelly. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and in this video I'm just going to show you how to make a Zentangle tile. If you haven't heard of Zentangle, you can go to zentangle.com for more information. You can also visit my Facebook page, Let's Tangle, for classes and videos. Alright, the Zentangle method of drawing is done using a dot, a line, a curve, an S, and an orb or a circle, and doing those repeatedly creates beautiful patterns. So when we do the Zentangle drawing, we usually use a 3.5-inch piece of paper called a tile. It's called a tile because when you're done, if you're working in a group, you can put them all together and it makes a beautiful mosaic. So these tiles are available through zentangle.com or through me on my website. If you do not have a Zentangle tile, you can just use anything you have, cardstock, paper, scrap paper, an envelope, whatever you have. I would just recommend making a 3 to 4 inch square on it to work inside of. The other tools I have are a micron pen, a graphite pencil, and a white blending tool called a tortillon. You do not have to do the shading portion of the video. If you'd like to and you don't have these tools, you can just use a number 2 pencil and a Q-tip as a blending tool. Okay. All right, and if you do not have a micron pen, use a crayon, a marker, an ink pen, whatever you have around the house. All right, the Zentangle method of drawing has 8 basic steps. The first thing is we start with a little bit of gratitude. And maybe your gratitude is something huge, something small. It could just be simply being grateful for having this moment to watch a YouTube video and create a little masterpiece. We're going to make some corner dots. We're going to draw a border around our piece. We're going to make a string, and a string is how we divide up our square into smaller sections. Then we'll tangle, and tangle is drawing. Then we'll shade it, initial it, and appreciate our work. All right, here is my tile, and I'm going to start with my pencil. I have this at kind of a funny angle because I'm hoping that you can see what I draw better than if it was looking straight on. Okay, so the first thing we do is make corner dots. So just inside each corner, I'm just going to make a little dot with my pencil. I'm filming this at my camper, and there are people having bonfires, there's children playing, there's golf carts, so there might be a lot of background noise, and also some shaking because it's kind of windy out. After we make our dots, we create a border, and for the border, we're just going to connect each corner dot, and I'm going to make mine a little bit wiggly. I don't really want it to be straight necessarily. You can. Just like making mine a little bit curvy. As you can see, I'm turning my tile as I go. The nice thing about working with a small surface is that you can move it around to make things comfortable. Okay, here we go. We did our corner, we did our border. Now I've got this nice little frame to put our picture in. So one technique I want to show you tonight is when we make the string. Today we're going to make it using one of the tangles. So we're going to make a tangle, and then we're going to tangle inside of that shape. So one of my favorite shapes is flux, and flux is a teardrop shape. So typically, flux would be a little bit small and build on itself. But for tonight, I'm going to use it as my string to draw inside of. So I'm going to start with a fairly large teardrop shape right in the corner. And my goal is to fit about 5 going up here. So my next one, I'm going to start off to the side over here. And I'm just going to curve it in a little bit there. Doing this nice and light with my pencil in case I want to go back and change it. Also do it in pencil so that my pen can just kind of go over it and make it disappear as we draw. Put another one here. And then my last one is going to go up here. And as you can see, I went right over my border. So this is typically drawn much smaller, but today we're going to tangle inside of it. Okay, put my pencil down. I'm going to grab my pen. I'm using a Micron 05. There's lots of options to draw with. And for tonight, I'm actually going to trace these shapes before I start drawing. I don't usually do that. And this one right here, I'm going to make a little bit larger. So I can just go right outside the outside edge if I want. And I'm going to do that one. I'm not worrying about tracing it perfectly. And my last one. Okay. We're going to start with this very first teardrop shape down here. And we're going to start with Printemps. And Printemps is a spiral shape. So I usually start with a little dot. And then very carefully I take my pen and I just start going around that dot. And then I stop. I can make another one next to it. And I start my spiral shape. When I get to an edge, I'm going to stop and jump up my pen and imagine where it comes out the other side. Same thing here when I get to this already existing shape, I'm going to jump and come out the other side. And I can make some little ones. I can make some large ones. Just going slow to keep those lines consistent. There's no rhyme or reason as to where to put these. If I sneak one in here, I'm going to have to jump over that one, jump over that one. That's okay. I'm going to go around it once more. And my last one I'll just sort of fit in here. Now if you have spots left over like this, you're welcome to fill them in with black ink or just mimic the shape as if you're going to make that one of those spirals a little bit larger. Okay? I don't know if I mentioned that I'm filming at a campground and there's bonfires and kids playing and a lot of background noise. Okay, after I make Printemps, my next one I'm going to do is called Kiko. And Kiko is, let's see, I'm going to turn mine a little bit. And Kiko is 4 vertical lines and then 4 horizontal lines and then 4 vertical lines and then horizontal. And then I do the opposite. So there was some vertical, so I do some horizontal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and I'm at my edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just filling this space with this cool shape that ends up looking like a basket weave. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's Kiko. The next one I'm going to do is, let's see, I think I'm going to do some Crescent Moon. So Crescent Moon, we make these little ladybug shapes along the outside. And typically we color them in, but tonight I am not going to color them in. I'm just going to make these little shapes all the way around. And then I'm going to add an aura, and an aura is just going along the outside, following that line, basically making a little rainbow. I'm going to do that to every shape. And this one right here is bumping into this one, so when I do it, I'll just stop, jump my pen, and continue down there. And then on the inside, I'm going to aura again, but this time I'm not going to touch down. I'm just going to dip down into these little crevices. And dip, and dip. And I'm going to do that again. I'm trying not to go too fast. I'm going to watch the lines. Keep them kind of even. And when I can't make any more, I just stop. Again, we typically would color in those first bumps, but I kind of like just leaving the white space tonight. All right, the next one I'm going to do is static. So static kind of looks like a heartbeat, and we just basically make some zigzag lines. No rhyme or reason. And then I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to aura, which means I'm just going to follow those lines. And right here I run out of room, so I'm just going to imagine where that line would go and where it would come back out. And I'm going to keep on doing that until I fill this space. And then I'm going to go down below, and I'm going to do the same thing. Trying not to round these, I'm trying to keep these nice and sharp. It's fun how you can fill a space just making these straight lines. If I want, I can fill one in there, and that is static. The last one I'm going to do is flux. So we did flux as our large one. Now I'm going to do some flux as a small one. So I'm going to start out just by putting a teardrop shape in there. And now this part gets a little bit tricky because I just want to fill this whole area with these flux shapes. So I can put one over there, maybe one that way, and one up there. And now I've got this goofy spot over here, but I can just put a little baby one in. I can put a little baby one in there. And maybe one in there. And when I'm done, I could go back and color all this extra space. I could darken it, but I'm going to leave it kind of white and just put some of these little orbs inside there. So I'm just going to fit a little circle inside each of these spaces. I'm squeezing it right in there. Just like that. And now if I want to go back in and add a little darkening to the space that is left, I can. I wouldn't have to. It looks kind of pretty. Okay. And when we make flecks, we put a little curvy line and a couple of dots. And my curve just sort of follows the shape of the flecks that I made. Okay. Now I'm going to take my pen, I'm going to aura around this entire shape. So that just means I'm going to follow along. It's almost like you're tracing, but you're just on the outside edge. Again, I'm going to try to go slow to keep that distance pretty even all the way around. Moving my tile as I go, turning it around. Just keep on going till that whole thing is auraed. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in some orbs or circles in each of these crevices. If we do a bunch of these, we call it tipple. But if we're just adding a couple of them as an accent, we call them perfs. So I'm going to put some perfs in there. Could even put one down here if I want. And I'm going to put a couple more, a little bit smaller. And maybe I put 3 or 4 or 5. This just adds to the overall organic look of this tile. Add a couple more. And after I get those drawn, I like to go back and kind of cement them in. So I'm just going to take my pen, color in that space between those perfs and the larger tangle. This is when I need my reading glasses. And after I get all those kind of cemented in there, then I can take my pen and add some little accents if I want. Makes these look kind of like bubbles. I don't have to put it in every one. It just gives it a little bit of dimension. All right. Now I'm going to go back and trace my border that I originally made. I just like how that brings the piece together. So wherever it's still sticking out, I go ahead and trace it. And then just to add this little perf shape, just to kind of spread it out a little bit, in these two corners, I'm going to add some perfs around the outside. Just a few. And I'm varying the shapes, not the shapes, the sizes. And I'm coloring those in. Coloring in those empty spaces. And I'm going to do that up here in the corner also. Again, making a couple of large ones. couple of little ones. If you have any spaces, you can color those in and add some reflections. The last thing I'm going to do before I start shading is I'm going to add some fescue. And fescue are these whimsical little pieces that stick out and add a little bit of flair. So I'm going to do mine right from here. You do it from either spot. And I'm just going to make like a big C shape. And at the end, I curl it back in like a little teardrop, and I color it in. I'm going to make another one next to it, a little bit smaller. I'm going to make one go this way. And I kind of like making a couple of them big enough to just go right over the edge. Maybe I'll make another one go this way. Just because I like how that looks going over. I'll do the same thing on this side. If you want to make it first with pencil so you can see how they lay, go right ahead. I add one more. Right there. And look at how that just fills up that tile. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my pencil. I know that was kind of fast. Hopefully you pause it if it's going a little bit too quick. And we're going to do some shading. So I'm going to shade Printop first. And I'm just going to pick one of these spirals, and everywhere this spiral goes over another one, I'm going to put some graphite on the outside of it. So this one goes over that one, so I want some shade back here. It goes over this one, so I'll shade the outside here. And it kind of goes over that one. Then I take my tortillon, and with the side, not the tip, and just sort of spread that out a little bit. And it just looks like it's standing up higher than the other ones, and there's a shadow down below it. Then I take another spiral, and if it goes over another one, I put a little graphite on the outside. This spiral is going over this one. This spiral is going over this one. And this little baby one is going over these. So take my tortillon, and I just spread those out and away from the one that's on top. Look at how those look layered now. Okay. I'm also going to go on the inside line and add a little bit of shading, because I want it to look like these spirals don't just stop at the edges, but maybe they disappear underneath the edges or tuck in. So I'm just going to add a little bit of graphite. They kind of look like they're tucking in. With this Kiko shape, I'm going to look at my horizontal lines, and whenever my horizontal lines meet a vertical, I'm just going to put a little bit of shading in there. These horizontal lines meet this vertical and meet it there too. And then what happens is, if this is my vertical, I'm going to scoot that out towards the horizontal. And it makes it look like it's going up and under like a weave. So up here, here's my vertical, or my horizontal. Where it meets a vertical, I'm going to put a line. Right here, the vertical and horizontal meet. Right here they meet. Right here. Right here. I go down here. And then I'm always going to spread towards the horizontal. I almost said horizon. Towards the horizontal. My verticals are going to stay pretty clean. See how they're tucking in there? I'm going to turn my tile this way. And I'm going to go around the outside edge. I just turned it so my hand wasn't resting on those printemps that I already shaded. And I'm using kind of the side of my pencil, but I'm pointing towards the line. It helps you get that graphite right up against it. And take my tortillon and spread that in just a little bit. Again, just so it doesn't look like that pattern is ending right there. It's more that it continues on maybe underneath. Okay. For Crescent Moon, every time I see these little V shapes, I'm just going to, right to the middle, I'm going to add a little line of graphite. I'm not going in the middle, but I'm going right to that last little middle shape. Just adding some graphite at each of those spots. And what that does is it takes this two-dimensional drawing that I did, and it makes it look kind of 3D. Like these are little bumps going towards that center. Okay. Static. Same thing. Whenever I see these little V shapes, I'm going to add some graphite. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. If you don't want to shade, you can skip this part. And then I'm going to make each of these just kind of go to the right. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. That makes that like a little three-dimensional also. Like it's going up and down and up and down. All right, and then for flex, I'm going to put a little bit of graphite in the bottom corner of each one of these. And I'm going to just very lightly draw a little line, kind of following that little line up. Not very much. So definitely the corner and up a little bit. Even the little baby ones. And then I'm just going to kind of spread that up. I like keeping it dark down in those crevices, and it really looks like it's tucking down in there. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go back to static real quick, and I want to put some graphite around this inside edge. Just because I did it on the other ones. Same thing on Crescent Moon. I'm doing this quickly, I'm sorry, but I want them all to kind of match, have the same look. I'll actually do the same thing along the inside of this last one. And then what I can do is just soften it a little bit. And soften this one a little bit. And this one. And that just makes them all look like they're sort of tucking in a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go along the whole outside edge, not my border, but of this shape. So the outside edge, I'm just going to put a little bit of graphite all along that. And then when I get to those little perfs, I'm going to go around the perfs. And I'm going to continue on all the way around. And then around those little bows again. And around the outside edge. Around those little perfs. And the outside edge. And shading is really fun. It really takes a piece. You're really making just this little tiny 3-inch masterpiece, and it looks so two-dimensional when you first make it. And when you go around it like this, it really makes it sort of jump out off the paper. I'll take my tortillon and I'm just going to spread these outward. See how that just gives it like a little shadow. There are some loud people hanging out tonight at the campground. Just keep going all the way around. The idea of this too is to really have it just sort of disappear. You don't really want to see where the shading stops. You almost want it to just disappear into the edges. And if you keep some dark right up against that shape, it really looks like a shadow. Okay. There's that. And now I'm going to do the same thing on these perfs on the outside edges. So I'm just going to go around these. And around this side. I'm doing it kind of dark. And then I push those out away from that frame. Same on the other side. Out and away. Okay, last thing I want to show you is a technique I haven't showed you before if you've been in my classes, but these cute little fescues, I'm going to give them each their own shadow, and I haven't mastered this yet. I don't know exactly how it works, but the idea is that the sun is kind of coming from the top and just projecting a very small shadow for each of these little shapes. So I'm going to have mine go on this outside up here. So I'm going to follow this line, and then I'm just going to mimic what that looks like with my pencil, not with my pen. And I'm going to mimic this little one. And I'm going to mimic this large one. And this little one. It just gives them their own little shadows. And since I made the shadows go that way, these ones I'll do on the inside, just so the shadows are on that side of each of those. So this one I'm going to make it right in here. And that one right there. All right. There we go. Try to get a little more straight on. Right, there's our tile. Fantastic. Okay, the last thing we do is we initial it on the front. So every artist, if you ever buy an artist print, artist painting, a sculpture, they usually have their initials on the front somewhere. So you can hide yours in the art or just put it wherever it works. All right, there's my initials. And then on the back, these Zentangle tiles come with just a couple of little lines. So I always write the date. Today is October 9th. And then I write a little sentence about what's on my mind or in my heart, where I am, what I'm doing. So I would probably write that we're still in quarantine. I would write that I'm up at my camper for the weekend, our last weekend of the season, and that I'm recording a video. So I would actually write all of that on here. It's almost like a little journal. And then I also up here would write all of the tangles that I used in case I ever want to go on Zentangle.com or I want to Google them. I can look up what I used. So we used flux and printout. And Crescent Moon. And static. And goodness, what else did we use? Oh, Kiko. We also used fescue. That might have an E, I don't remember. I don't remember. Fescue. Okay, there's your tile. I hope you loved it. And please check out letstangle.com if you'd like to see any more videos. Thank you so much.